from the Lakeside Newsroom of the Henrico Citizen, your hometown news source since 2001. This is the Henrico News Minute with publisher Tom Lapis.
Good news on the vaccine and unemployment front in Henrico County, and a new immersion program is coming to one Henrico Elementary School. We'll have details in today's Henrico News Minute. It's the end of the week, Friday, February 26, 2021. It's brought to you today by Henrico County.
And now for the news.
Well, COVID-19 vaccinations will ramp up in a major way in Henrico and Richmond beginning next week, according to the Richmond and Henrico health districts. That's because the districts will begin receiving about 61% more vaccine doses from the federal government than they've been getting during the past month or so. The RHHD expects to get about 10,180 total doses to use in the two localities next week, and at least that many in subsequent weeks. The districts have been receiving about 6,300 doses a week. The increase comes as part of a national increase in vaccine distribution, now up to about 14.5 million doses weekly. Separately, more doses also are being distributed directly from the government to community health centers and to pharmacy partners in Virginia and nationwide. This week, Virginia pharmacies began receiving a total of 52,000 doses, all intended for seniors 65 and older. That's up from the 26,000 that had been going just to CVS for the past 2 weeks. Now, CVS will continue to get that same amount in Virginia, and the additional 26,000 weekly doses are being shared by more than 140 locations of 8 chain pharmacies and grocery stores, and also local pharmacies. That includes Food Lion, Walmart, and Walgreens, among others in the Richmond area. The RHHD is continuing to focus its vaccination efforts on people in Phase 1A and the first 3 segments of Phase 1B, but good news is coming soon for others in Phase 1B. That's according to nurse manager Amy Popovich. She said yesterday that people such as those in the 16 to 64 bracket with pre-existing conditions and others will be able to begin receiving doses likely sometime next month. She didn't specify what time frame specifically in March. As of earlier this week, about 31,000 seniors 65 and older in the two localities had been vaccinated. About 22,000 of those were in Henrico. Popovich did not say how many people in that age range remained on the district's pre-registration list, but there are an estimated 84,000 people in the age bracket between the two localities. You can read much more on this topic by visiting henricocitizen.com and clicking on COVID-19. First-time unemployment claims in Henrico reached a 3-month low during the most recent reporting week. That was February 14th through 20th, according to the Virginia Employment Commission. A total of just 212 county residents filed such claims. That's down from the 283 who had done so the previous week, a decrease of 25%. It was the lowest total number of new filers in the county since the week of November 22nd to 28th, when 160 people filed before Thanksgiving. The only other time as few people have filed in Henrico since the pandemic began was the week of October 4th through 10th, when 191 people filed. Henrico's the 7th largest locality in the state. It had the 11th most initial filers during the most recent week. The number of continuing claims in the county, however, did rise slightly from 1968 up to 2112. Henrico Schools officials are seeking the public's input about the latest iteration of an agreement with the Henrico Police Department that governs the involvement of police officers on school property. The proposed memorandum of understanding between the two bodies largely reflects the existing MOU, which was adopted 2 years ago this month, and it generally explains the responsibilities that both agencies hold in the partnership. Now, 2 of the 4 newly proposed clauses within the document are designed with the goal of ensuring that parents are informed before students are questioned or detained at school by police. The first one would require the school's principal to make a good faith effort to contact the student's parent prior to the beginning of any student interview by police. If such contact cannot be made, then the principal or another administrator would sit in on the interview with the student. The second related clause would require a parent or guardian to be contacted in person, electronically, or by phone or video conference prior to, quote, any custodial interrogation of a child by a law enforcement officer who has arrested such child, end quote. Another one of the new clauses would mandate that a police official who wants to interview a student on campus as part of a criminal investigation must do so through the school resource officer in coordination with school administrators. The final new clause would require that an officer who enters the school to remove a student must first report to the principal's office and coordinate with the principal or a designee about the best approach for doing so. Now, the potential revision is part of a new state law that was passed last year that requires such MOUs between school districts and public safety agencies to be updated at least every 2 years. That law was championed by Delegate Schuyler Van Valkenburg, a Henrico teacher at Glen Allen High School. Read more about this topic at henricocitizen.com by clicking on News and then Education. Some kindergartners at Holiday Elementary School this fall will be learning math and science and Spanish and history and language arts and English as part of the county's first dual language immersion program. The program will enroll one class of kindergartners who have opted into it. It'll expand by one grade level each year to allow that class to progress while welcoming other classes behind it. The Holiday was selected because it has a high percentage of students who don't speak English as their native language. And studies have shown that students who are not native English speakers tend to learn English better when they build their proficiency in their own language at the same time. And bilingual students also tend to have a wider variety of career opportunities, cross-cultural understanding, and communication skills than those who don't. That's according to Henrico Schools education specialist for world language, Stephanie Stockman. Now, students in the program will spend the first half of the day in a classroom with a Spanish-speaking teacher who will teach them math and science. Then they'll switch to another classroom with the English-speaking teacher to learn language arts and history. Henrico officials studied similar programs in Virginia Beach, Fairfax County, and Albemarle County during the past 2 years. They're hoping for a ratio of students about 40% native Spanish speakers and 60% native English speakers. The division has set aside minimal funds for the program. That's according to former elementary education director Rich Hall, who is still working on the project even in retirement. Superintendent Amy Cashwell said her own daughter participated in a similar program in elementary school, and she said that the potential exists in Henrico for similar programs eventually to take root at other elementary schools. The Virginia Senate recently passed an amended version of a bill that would mandate paid sick leave time for some in-home healthcare workers. The substitute bill now heads back to the House, where the initial version passed on a 54-46 vote. Its patron there, Delegate Elizabeth Guzman of Woodbridge, said she'll encourage fellow delegates to approve the substitute version and send the amended bill to Governor Ralph Northam for approval. The substitute bill would apply to in-home healthcare workers who serve patients with Medicaid coverage. It would require employers to set aside 1 hour of paid leave for every 30 hours worked. Employees must work at least an average of 20 hours per week or 90 hours per month to qualify. Once covered, workers will be allowed paid leave if they're sick or if they need to care for a sick family member. Unused sick leave can be carried over to the year after it was earned. The amended bill would protect some 25,000 workers, according to Guzman. If approved, it would take effect July 1st. Today's Henrico News Minute is brought to you by Henrico County. It's February, and all month long, Henrico County is celebrating Black History Month. Watch original biographies and documentaries from Henrico County by visiting tinyurl.com/Henrico Black History.